Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about the white blood cells and the normal differential ranges and how the white blood cells act during various illnesses. So the white blood cells is also known as leukocytes, and they are the essential parts of our immune system. I call them the soldiers of the body. They act like a bodyguard and help to defend the body against infections, foreign bodies, or invaders that want to invade the body and make the body sick. And they also defend against abnormal cells like cancer. I would say there are like five different types of structured white blood cells that we know of. And when we talk about the normal white blood cells count in an adult, we are talking about the range of 4,000 to 11,000 cells per microliter of a blood. So in a microliter of a blood, you should have a normal range in an adult, both male and female, of like 4,000 to 11,000. I mentioned earlier that there are different types of white blood cells. In fact, it is structured as five types of blood cells, and these include neutrophil, lymphocytes, the monocytes, eosinophil, and the basophil. The most prominent one, or the ones that we have in abundance in the blood, as an in comparison to the white blood cells, is the neutrophil, and in percentage it's usually between the 50 to 70% of the white blood cells. This is the one that we have as the most prevalent cells in the standard panel. Its role, however, that means the neutrophil, their role is essentially to be the first line of defense against infections, against invaders that want to invade the body. And this acts particularly against the bacteria and the fungal infection. They act like an engulfer. I mean, they go to where the infection is or the site of the infection and engulf whatsoever pathogen that is coming into the body. And this process is called the phagocytosis. So the second largest percentage of white blood cells that we know of is the lymphocytes, and this takes about the 20 to 40% of the white blood cells. This lymphocytes, they comprises of the B cells, the T cells, and the natural killer. I like that though, natural killer cells. Their role majorly is to help in crucial moments where there's a viral infection going on in the body. They go in there and fight the virus that is in there by maintaining an immune memory. That means when they have in contact with the viruses, they actually register and will be able to remember that they've had contact with this virus. They also help in including regulating of antibodies and then the immune responses that we have subsequently to such viruses. The monocyte is the third type of structured white blood cell that we know of, and this takes the 2 to 8% of the normal panel. And then the main function of the monocytes actually is to clean up dead cells and debris from the body, and that's what we know them to do. The fourth type of the white blood cell that we know is the eosinophil, and this takes like 1 to 4% of the standard panel. The function of the eosinophil is actually to respond to parasitic infection. That means where there is parasites, they are the ones that actually respond to this kind of infection, and they also involved in when you have an allergic reaction. So when you see an increase in eosinophil in the lab work of a patient, you might be thinking towards a parasitic infection or there's an allergic reaction going on. The fifth type of white blood cells that we know of is the basophil, and this takes the 0.5 to 1% of the WBC. Their main function is to release histamine during allergic reaction, and then when there is an inflammation going on, you see an increase in the basophil in the blood work of a patient. So in summary, the largest percentage of cells in a normal white blood cell differential count is typically the neutrophil that takes the 50 to the 70%. However, there might be an increase or decrease in the white blood cells count. When there is an increase in the white blood cells count, it is called leukocytosis. And this might indicate that the patient has infection, there's an inflammation going on somewhere. The patient might have leukemia, might be due to stress, and there might be tissue damage that might be seen during trauma or burns. However, when there's a low white blood cell count, it is called leukopenia. And this might indicate that there's a the viral infection going on. There's an autoimmune disorder, there's a bone marrow disorder, or in cases of certain medications like chemotherapy. That is when we see that the WBC count is low. I hope this helps. So let's quickly talk about the white blood cells that are typically elevated in different kind of illnesses. In viral infections, though, we have the lymphocytes that are elevated, and this is because the T and the B cells will target such virus and then deal with it and be able to remember this virus. We're talking about influenza, the COVID-19 virus, the viral hepatitis virus. So when they do attack and help to defend the body against this virus, they actually do remember that virus in subsequent time to be able to fight it and probably develop an antibody towards such virus. However, in bacterial infections or illnesses, is the neutrophil that is actually elevated. So the neutrophil are the first responder, like I said, they're the first line of defense of the body, and they act against bacterial infections. Examples of bacterial infections are the pneumonia, the urinary tract infections, the sepsis. They go to where the bacteria is and engulf it. So when you see an elevated neutrophil in a differential WBC differential, you'll be thinking towards bacterial infection. In parasitic infection or allergic reaction, you would find that the eosinophil and sometimes the basophil are actually elevated because they help fight against the allergic reactions and then the inflammations. So the eosinophil actually responds to allergens and then parasite infection, while the basophil releases histamine in allergic responses. Examples are when we have asthma, hay fever, parasitic worm infection. You see an elevated eosinophil and basophil sometimes in the white blood cell differential. So, in summary, when you have a viral infection, you're thinking of the lymphocytes to be elevated. When there is a bacterial infection, we're talking about the neutrophil to be elevated. In allergic reactions, you're talking about the eosinophils to be elevated, and in parasitic infection, you're talking about the eosinophil also to be elevated. So thank you for staying with me today. Hope to see you another time. Please subscribe to my channel and like and follow. Thank you.